Kia ora, hello my friends. So I'll be sharing with you all of the items that I've used to make one of these cases. So first up is going to be some cups and something to mix with. This is if you're adding colorant to your silicone, which I'm going to do. I use metal knives so I can reuse them, and if you had some silicone cups you'd be able to reuse those too. I use a star tip nozzle to pipe the silicone, and I've got a disposable piping bag, but again if you had a silicone one you would be able to reuse it. I use acrylic paint to color my silicone, but you do have to be mindful you are adding a water-based item into a solvent-based item, so there is a possibility for it to seize or not set correctly. In my experience, just adding a tiny little bit of paint works out okay. This is the bathroom silicone that I'm working with today. You can see it is the translucent kind, so it will give me a nice jelly-like effect. I am going to apologize in advance for being out of shot sometimes. I'm pretty bad at filming tutorials. But yeah, so to start with, I'm going to divide out my silicone into two halves because I'd like to make a nice ombre effect. So up first I'm going to color this half of the silicone pink. You can see I've only added a really tiny amount of colorant. You know, you can always add more, so be cautious when you're doing this. Now I'm going to add that pink silicone to my piping bag. This is going to be the color at the top of my phone case, so it is the color that I'm going to add to my piping bag first. So now I'm going to color the second half of my silicone a nice purple shade. This purple that I use isn't my favorite kind of purple, so I do add a little bit of pink to brighten it up and make it super cute, and I really like the color that it ended up being. Now I'm just going to add that silicone to my bag that already has the pink silicone in it, and I'm just going to be kind of careful to try to squeeze out as many of the air bubbles that I can so that they don't kind of pop out onto the case when I'm piping. Pipe a wee row off your case just to make sure there's no air bubbles right at the start. And here we go, starting to pipe the phone case. I've done 3 of these cases now, so I kind of have an idea of how to go around the camera hole best. However your phone case is, you'll have to make a wee plan of how you want to do your silicone around the camera hole because it may look different to mine. I am always thoughtful to make sure it doesn't like go over the edge and obscure the camera a little bit, because if it does that you're just going to have to whip off the case every time you want to take a photo, which is no fun. If you do go over the edge, just be sure to get a toothpick or something and kind of scrape away at that excess silicone to get it out of the way of the camera. I'm fairly messy at piping, but as you will see in the end, it's totally all good if yours is messy too, because you will be covering it up with lots of decorations. I ended up piping a little bit extra on the side just to get that purple color coming through a bit quicker. Looking back at this footage, that decision ended up not making it really that ombre. It's kind of just pink and then it's purple all of a sudden. So yeah, I probably should have kept like at least one more row of it being like gradually turning into purple, but it is what it is. And here now you can see me kind of getting a bit skinny on the piping, and then I was like, oh my gosh, okay, now I'm just going to do each end and then fill up the middle kind of thing, which worked a little bit. You can see I still have some gaps, and now I'm kind of going back to doing a normal row as I normally would. It's all a bit trial and error, to be honest, and I only do one of these cases every so often, so I feel like by the time I do it again I'm already out of practice. For the final row, you want to go horizontally to cover up those little tails of the kind of piping, and then for the last little bit I tend to do a little swirl just to tidy it up. Yay! And now we're on to the decorating part, which is like the most fun and also kind of stressful part. So I already have my decorations good to go. These are just resin pieces that I made myself. You can do that easily, or you can like buy little decorations off the internet. Some pieces I decided to do a little bit extra piping underneath just so they would kind of stand up a little bit tall. I definitely recommend for you to plan out where you want these decorations to go before making your case. I normally just like draw around my phone case and then kind of have fun moving the pieces around and deciding where they might look best. I do, however, end up changing my plans quite often, because once you get it on the phone case, perhaps the colors look different than you anticipated, or you know, you have to cover up some ugly parts of piping like I do. So here actually you'll see me yanking off a decoration and then putting another decoration in its place just to get the color balance a little bit nicer. I ended up changing this resin charm that says cute because you just couldn't see it at all. It was like the same color as the piping. So luckily I had another one made up which was pink. Not my favorite shade of pink, but it is whatever. So yeah, I just kind of yanked it off, and then I ended up adding a little extra silicone underneath just to make sure it definitely had something to stick to. And then yeah, I added this one on, which I definitely prefer you being able to see the word a lot easier. It's just, it could have been a better shade, but that's totally cool. So now I'm adding some more silicone so I can have like some pieces a little bit higher than other pieces. If you've seen any of my other Decoden tutorials, I don't always do this, but like I said, each time is kind of trial and error, to be honest. I think it's a good idea to get your larger resin charms on first, just so it gives you a better idea for spacing and like what gaps you need to fill, and then that way you're not going to miss out one of your like biggest main pieces kind of thing. And lastly, I'm adding these tiny little baby roses to this phone case. They are in pink, purple, and white. And that is it. Here is my completed phone case. I was going for like a cherry blossom magical girl theme, which I think I definitely achieved. This might be my favorite phone case to date. You know, I feel like I normally feel that way about my cases. But yeah, I really do adore this case. Here's some extra shots of it just because I was in a huge rush trying to make this, you know, as per usual, I think. So I didn't get very much footage of my case once it was finished, but it is what it is. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!